writing music is for me pretty important in film music. Being able to write and read music, it's not necessary though. It's not the end all of film scoring. Music is obviously not. Well, music really is more soul than brain. So and the actual technical part of writing a score and reading it is definitely up here. So it's by far the least important of all the different things in composing. There are a lot of great film composers that don't read music. There are a lot of great blind musicians and composers and writers throughout history. So obviously, it's not something that is absolutely necessary. For me, it helps in that I like to have control over all the elements of the music. I'm kind of a control freak a bit. So like most film composers don't conduct their own scores either, but I do and so being able to have it there in front of me and talk to the orchestra about the notes and you're playing a B flat and why don't you do this, and kind of having that dialogue with musicians that are just the orchestral musicians. That's the language they know. They know the written note, but it's definitely not a necessity. An important part of film scoring is the silent bits in between the pieces of music, and that's something that can be used really effectively. Some of the best musical moments are when the music stops, for effect or dramatic, underlining of things. So clearly the music doesn't go all the way through. There are movies, believe it or not, that have music 100% of the way through the movie. I think that's usually it's particular with certain producers that I would say are not confident about their movie. I think it's usually a shortcoming of the movie when they feel they have to fill every second with music. Because the fact is that the movie is going to be the music is going to be less effective if it's all the way through. It's like any dynamics. If you're just cruising along, it's like you're going to get used to the music so much that it's almost like it's not there. And then when you need it to do something, it's like you have no headroom. So I would say, on an action movie, there's probably a higher percentage of music. Actions and movies and thrillers, I'd say maybe 65-70% of the movie has music going under it. I've had movies that have comfortably gone into the 90s. And then kind of the other side of the coin would be like comedies have, I think, the least amount of score. They have a lot of songs, but the score, the underscore, is a bit less. But for some reason, I find I do films that tend to be on the high. I think I average probably around 70-80% in my movies, because I tend to do a lot of either epics or action movies or thrillers, and kind of the type of thing that really calls for a lot of music. And the more the music, the more you got to write, and actually kind of the harder it becomes because you have to find new ways of kind of reinventing yourself throughout the movie and kind of upping the ante as the movie goes. So by the end of it, you're still saying something that's significant with the music. Sometimes with certain pieces that are very rigid, especially like techno beats and things like that, there's kind of a metronome feel to the pre-recorded music, which kind of locks you into the piece. But on the whole, the music is playing out free because orchestral musicians aren't used to hearing metronomes going on in their headsets. Sometimes you have that, but it's ideal to actually play the music kind of just free and live, and have me dictate as a conductor where the moments need to turn and where they need to sync up to the film itself. Something that also happens is there's always those unexpected things that happen when I write out music and the orchestra plays it back. Sometimes there's a little bit of difference between what's I think it's going to be and as I'm conducting, I'm keeping time with the right hand. The left hand, it's cueing, pointing to different players and working dynamics. So all of a sudden the violins might sound kind of loud, or the first or second violins, or the cello, or the violas. And so I'm constantly kind of, as the scene's going, you can kind of tell when you're watching it ooh, this might be a little too loud, or that's not quite enough, or come on, give me more intensity, or this, you know. So it's not just a tempo thing. They're not just playing along. You need to kind of massage the volume and kind of the style of the way they play in order to meet the emotional component of what's on the screen.